Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone.
I want to talk about a kind of person I've met 1,000 times in my research. And honestly, I see them every time I look in the mirror. They walk into a room, and within seconds, something shifts inside them. Nobody's fighting, nobody's crying. On the surface, everything looks just fine. But their nervous system has already done a full scan. An averted glance. A smile that's working a little too hard. A sentence that sounds perfectly normal, but carries this invisible weight underneath it. Most people call that a superpower. And I get why. It looks like a gift. But here's what I've learned from years of research, and from living it myself. That kind of awareness doesn't come with an off switch. You can't just be at a dinner party. You're also cataloging it, dissecting it, taking it home at midnight, and replaying it like a film you can't stop watching. You can turn 1 3-second silence into an entire universe of meaning. And that is exhausting in a way that's really hard to explain to people who don't live it. So today, I want to sit with this. I want to talk about what it actually means to be someone who sees too much. Where it comes from, how it shows up, and most importantly, how you stop letting it swallow you whole. Because this doesn't just appear out of nowhere. Researchers have identified 2 distinct paths that lead here. The first is biological. Some people are simply born with what scientists call sensory processing sensitivity. Their nervous system is wired differently from the start, like an ultra-fine filter that absorbs everything at a higher intensity than most people ever experience. The world, for them, always arrives in high resolution. The second path, and this one hits close to home for so many people I've talked to, is what neuroscientists call hypervigilance. And it doesn't come from a lab, it comes from a childhood. Imagine growing up in a house where the emotional weather changed without warning. Where you couldn't just be a kid. You had to become a radar system. You memorized the sound of tires in the driveway. Was Dad calm tonight or not? You learned to read the slam of a kitchen cabinet like a weather forecast. You knew with terrifying precision exactly when to walk into the living room and smile, and exactly when to disappear. Nobody taught you that. Your nervous system figured it out on its own. Your amygdala, your brain's alarm system, learned one central truth very early: this place is not safe. Keep scanning. And over time, that survival strategy became your identity. Here's what breaks my heart about that. So many of these people grow up and look back at themselves and think, what is wrong with me? Why can't I just stop overthinking? Nothing is wrong with you. You built a shield that kept you safe. The problem is, the shield never came off. So what does that look like in real adult life? Let me walk you through it. The first sign is living in constant analysis mode. And I mean constant. Someone else gets a Slack message from their boss that says, "Come see me for a minute later." They think, okay, meeting. But for this person, that message lands differently. Something in the wording feels slightly off. A little too neutral. A little too brief. And within seconds, the mind is running, did I do something wrong? Are they upset with me? What did I miss? They don't just hear words. They hear the 3-second pause before a compliment. They notice a micro shift in someone's breathing, their brain's default mode network. The system responsible for self-reflection runs almost continuously. While half of them is holding a coffee cup and nodding along, the other half is quietly taking notes on everything. And at the end of a day where nothing bad happened, they are bone tired. Because their brain just ran a marathon that nobody else could see. The second sign is hyper self-awareness. And this one is particularly cruel. We all have metacognition, the ability to think about our own thinking. But for overly aware people, it becomes a loop that never closes. An emotion shows up, and instead of just feeling it, they immediately audit it. They feel sad on a Tuesday afternoon, and rather than just letting that sadness exist, they cross-examine it. Why am I sad? Does this even make sense? I have a good job. I should be grateful. What is wrong with me for feeling empty right now? Even joy doesn't get to just be joy. They laugh at a joke at a dinner party, and a fraction of a second later, a part of their mind floats up to the ceiling and evaluates. Was that too loud? Did that sound fake? It's like trying to dance while staring at your own reflection, correcting your posture every single step. You might not miss a beat, but you lose the whole feeling of dancing. The third sign is losing innocence in relationships. And this one is lonely. really lonely. When you can see the backstage of human behavior, you can't unsee it. You watch a coworker bring you coffee and praise your project. And instead of just receiving that warmth, your brain quietly starts searching for the motive. What do they need from me? What's coming? You understand, at a deep, almost cellular level, that kindness sometimes has conditions. That confidence can be a curtain hiding fear. That an apology is sometimes just conflict management, not genuine accountability. I'm not saying these people become cynical. They don't. They become careful. And that carefulness costs something real. A compliment always seems to have layers. A promise sounds fragile before it's even finished being made. They can sit in a room full of people and feel completely alone, because no one else seems to be seeing what they're seeing. The fourth sign is empathy that never clocks out. For most people, empathy is something you turn toward someone when they need it. For overly aware people, it's not a skill. It's a state. It's always running. They walk into a meeting and, before a single word is spoken, they can feel the tension between two coworkers in the room. They sit next to a stranger on the bus whose leg is bouncing with anxious energy, and suddenly their own heart rate climbs. A friend tells them about a painful divorce, and 3 days later, that grief is still sitting in their chest like it belongs there. Mirror neurons, the neural systems that help us feel what others feel, are working overtime in these people. They don't just understand someone's pain, they absorb it, they carry it home. And here's the thing about being the person who always understands everyone else. Very few people think to ask if you're okay. You become the emotional safe harbor for everyone around you. And at the end of the day, you are full, but not with anything that belongs to you. The fifth sign is when all of that awareness moves into the body. Science calls this interoception, our ability to sense what's happening inside us physically. And in overly aware people, this system is exquisitely sensitive. They drink an espresso. Their heart beats a little faster. For most people, that's just alertness. But for their nervous system, the brain reads that faster heartbeat and immediately cross-references it. Fast heartbeat could be danger. Prepare. And just like that, a completely ordinary physical sensation becomes a threat signal. Cortisol releases. The body responds. The sensations intensify, and the loop keeps feeding itself. They feel restless and on edge even when everything around them is perfectly fine, because their body has been speaking the language of emergency for so long, it doesn't always know how to say anything else. And then comes the final piece, the one I think is most important to name. When all of those signals, emotional, relational, physical, become too much to hold, the mind finds a strategy. It starts trying to control everything it can see coming. Not in a domineering way, in a quiet, internal way, built on one core belief: if I can predict every possible painful outcome, I won't be blindsided by it. So they run simulations, constantly. What if this person pulls away? What if everything I've built disappears? If the worst happens, how do I need to respond so I don't fall apart completely? They call this analysis paralysis in psychology, and it is exactly what it sounds like, being so consumed by every possible version of the future that the present moment just slips away. The cruelest irony, in trying to protect themselves from pain, they step outside their own lives. They stop living and start managing. Protection replaces presence, and they end up exhausted, not from anything that actually happened, but from guarding against things that haven't. So what do? You can't just turn this off. Asking an overly aware person to stop noticing things is like asking someone with perfect vision to choose to go blurry. That's not the goal. The goal is to stop carrying everything you see. The people I've watched move through this, and move beyond it, tend to come back to 3 things. First, not every silence is a message meant for you. If someone takes a long time to reply, maybe they're tired. If a coworker walks past without smiling, maybe their back hurts. Not everything is about you. And learning to sit with that uncertainty, without filling it in with your own anxiety, that is one of the most liberating things a person can do. Second, not every emotion that arrives needs to be solved. Anxiety shows up. Instead of immediately launching an investigation into why, you can just say, "Oh, my heart is beating fast." That's just a sensation. You observe it, you don't judge it, and you let it move through. Third, not every insight needs to be acted on. You may